This episode, trust your professionals. Well, as a professional handyman, both John and I have gone to job sites. The customer has purchased something for installation or purchased materials. And guess what? The products that they purchased will not work for the application. Time, money, and aggravation for all involved here. Let's discuss consulting and trusting your professionals.
Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros.
Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation in your home maintenance and repair. This edition's entitled Trust Your Professionals. And to help me explain, I'm here with my professional old buddy, Johnny. Johnny, what has been going on this week?
Yeah. Well, what brought this up is I had a few conversations with some of my customers that decided to take on some, let's say, projects of their own, and I have no problem with that at all. Great. That's what we do here, at least here at the show, is try to help everybody,
Try to help people,
do things, help people do their own stuff.
Yep.
I have no problem with that. However, I wish they would have bounced it off of me first.
Yes, because it's easier to do it right the first time than it is to fix it the second time.
Very much so.
Yes.
Very much
So
so.
I thought we'd start this conversation. We have talked in the past about, as a handyman, our goal is to become the trusted professional of homeowners, right? By giving good advice and helping people out. So some of this conversation is revolves around the fact that we meaning John and I and or other people that are experienced construction people, electricians, plumbers, whatever, people that are in the trades, if they've been doing it for a while, they have a lot of knowledge, and many times a lot of that knowledge is just kind of intrinsic. They've basically forgotten more about the industry than most people know. And so when you have these people and they tell you, "Oh, don't do that," you need to start asking questions as to why. Or you need to say, or if you ask them a question, believe what they're going to say. Doesn't necessarily mean it's always right, but there's just lots of things where it's like there's so many choices out there today that you have to have people that kind of understand it, right, John? I mean,
Well,
am I on the right track
yeah.
here?
I mean, is there any fault of having too much information?
Yeah, I guess so. And and today we have innumerable amounts of information available between YouTube and the internet and the this and the that and the da da da. But is it all correct?
Right. And
You know?
and that is one of the things that I think when you let off with being a trusted individual of advisor to the home and to the homeowner. Man, folks, if you're not the handyman, you're listening as a homeowner. You need to we kind of harp on this, but you need to find somebody that you can bounce these things off of. Like I said, I have no problem with my customers doing their own stuff at all.
The purpose of this show was to get customers to do their own stuff.
Right, that is the purpose. And I do have one customer that calls me all the time about things that they know that I not going to do, but they ask for my advice on those kind of things. So what to watch out for when they hire somebody that is in that business.
I've had several people call me to ask their opinion after it's already done, and is this right? And I'm like, you should have called me in advance.
And that's the other side of the coin on that, which is unfortunate.
Right.
But but the point here is to find somebody that you can bounce stuff off of, which will save you a lot of time, money, and aggravation.
Aggravation, right?
All day long.
Yep.
And also the outcome of the job is going to look a lot different.
Yes. Well, yeah, and all of the above. I'm just going to cut to some examples. Came to do a job, and person but that it's a concrete, pouring some footings, right, for a concrete job. This is actually for pouring some deck footings, right? Or not deck footings, but for a building, right? A small shed. And get to the job site, and what do they have? They have fast setting concrete. Well, the base problem with fast setting concrete in this particular application is I can't pour it in. The pour is big enough that I can't mix the concrete and not have it set up before it's ready to go. Wrong product, wrong application. This is not a a good thing. This is actually like, you can just take this stuff back, because it's useless for this. It just doesn't work. There's Johnny, and I know this just because
Yeah.
we deal with this. It's 5,000 mixes of concrete. At Home Depot, you're going to have what, about four?
Yeah.
There's about four different
Yeah.
mixes, basically. And even of those four, how do you choose? Well, if you don't know, you need to ask somebody. And by the way, don't ask the people at the store, because most of the time they were flipping burgers last week. They don't know. They do not know. And I don't care what their creds are. Most of them do not know. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it because I've had it too many times where I can find things in the store and I know more about the store than the people that work there. And that's just anything from plumbing materials to all of it. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not picking on them, but they're not trained. They don't know. They've never put anything together in their life. And don't trust a home inspector for the same reason either. Not a home inspector, excuse me, a code inspector, because code inspectors
Yeah.
lots of times don't know what they're talking about. And code inspectors, if I say that and it aggravates you, send me an email. Questions at Handyman Pros Radio Show. We'll talk and I'll put you on the show. Trust me. I will
Yeah.
put you on the show and you can make your case. But I've seen too many times when the guy doing an electrical inspection has never installed a wire.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
So, and if I'm wrong, folks, call me out on it because I'll take you to task. And
Yeah.
if you're one of the good guys, good for you. I want to know what municipality you work in.
Yeah.
Honest to God. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm off topic. Um, but the other things are, Johnny, we talk about this all the time. Drywall mud, right? Mixed mud. Mixed mud. Oh, this is finished product. No, it's not. It's not. Ask the
Yeah,
drywall doctor. He's been on the show. You know.
there's a lot of things that, when you look at this, you just I just you folks need to have that trusted advisor you can talk to, before you start this. It's just, you're going to learn a lot more. You're going to do things more, a lot more correctly in the first place, and save, the outcome of the job is going to be just a lot better. It's I'm just thinking, I think
Yeah.
of what I've been up against, and I'm not going to use any names or too many specific examples, but miscutting trim, putting trim, around your house, and you're like, I walk in, I'm like, oh boy, you're throwing money away, man. You should have asked. You should have asked me.
And it's unfortunate, right? Because
Yeah.
it is kind of unfortunate. Because our goal is not, trust me, we do not want to spend your money. I think part of it is that people don't want to hear. They actually, I hate to say this, but they don't really want to. They don't want to hear what you have to say because it's not going to be what they want to hear, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear that project that you're contemplating is going to be 2x of what they think it's going to be.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. In terms of it could be some part of the cost in that 2x, or it might be time.
Time,
and it's
time or money.
And more or less it'll be the time. There won't be enough prep work. It's a lot of folks don't understand why some of this stuff takes as long as it does because of the prep work.
Right.
I mean, you can ask our buddy, the drywall doctor about, proper prep before painting and all that kind of stuff. It makes a
even in like just gosh, you're talking about trim work, right? And you think about it, what takes the time in the building process? It's not the framing. You can frame a building in like basically no time, right? And boy, it looks impressive, man. You are cooking with gas. You got that framing up in 4 days or whatever it is, right? I mean, it doesn't matter, whatever the project is, right? But then you get to the finished product, like you're putting up the drywall or whatever, and you're like, "Well, what's taking so long? You got the whole place built in 4 days." Well, because the finished product takes lots of cuts and lots of drywall is not a good example, but
Yeah,
finished work like on wood, like you're talking about the trim, putting trim in, oh my goodness. If you're gonna do it right, it takes a lot of time, and it's very exacting work
it
because
is.
it is a
I,
finished
I
product,
and
right?
for all you trim guys out there, man, I marvel at how you guys are
Hats
doing it
off.
now. I know that you're doing it day in and day out. Okay, so
Right.
you're good at it, but man, um, I don't do
Still
it.
takes them a long time. It still takes them a long
Yeah,
time because it's just
I
it's
I I don't do it that often. When I do, I got to relearn a lot of it
right,
again,
right, right, right.
especially the spring angles and things like that.
And
On
I was just gonna say
you
because
know,
there's angles and geometry and there's a whole lot
yeah.
of things that go
So
into
I
it,
mean,
right?
but man, I'll tell you, I see these guys that are doing the trim work and stuff and just banging it out. I'm like, man, good for you, and that's why you deserve to get paid good
And,
money for doing that kind of stuff.
you don't get paid for doing it. You get paid for what you know and how to do it,
Right.
right? What it
Exactly.
is.
Exactly.
We always say that, but it really is true. You
But
didn't.
I,
But anyway,
I was going to say, it's just a shame because, some of my customers have some good ideas, and,
sure.
I see where they're going with this, but, it just, I just look in there. I'm like, oh boy, you should have called,
Yeah.
I would have given you free advice all day long.
Free
So,
advice all day long, but again, part of the reason is I think that people don't wanna hear what you have to say. They don't wanna hear the fact that, you know, uh, I I'm gonna use an example, and this is one that was really simple. Had somebody wanted to do a 5 by 8 bathroom, right? The old standard tub at
mhm.
the end, toilet, sink, vanity, right? The room was the right size, all of this and that. And they called me to give them a quote on the job, and I said, "Well, that's about," I said, on an aggressive schedule, that's about 3 weeks,
Mhm.
right? Because there was demo involved, they had to take some of the old stuff out and this and that. I said, "That's really, really, like, I'd be kicking it to do it in 3 weeks," because there's dry time on the drywall and the mud and tile. There was tile where he wanted tile up over the tub,
Oh
and this and
yeah.
that. Right? So it's all of this stuff just adds up. It just takes time, and it doesn't matter, and here's the thing, in a 5 by 8 bathroom, having 2 people work on it actually does not work to your advantage because it's so tight that you can't get 2 people into that space, right? So it ends up being one person works, the other person works. Anyway, they got a quote from somebody else, and they said, "Oh, they'll have it done in a week." And I looked at them and I said, "In this particular room," I'm like, "They won't have the demo done in a week." I go, They won't even get the demo and, the demo and pre-plumbing and all that stuff done in a week." I go, "There's no way." Well, they were so set on having it done in a week that they went with that person. How long did it take? Take a guess, Johnny.
3 weeks.
6 weeks.
6 weeks. Oh boy.
6 weeks. And they called me up about halfway through the job and said, "We wanna hire you." I said, "I don't go in behind somebody," because this was a case where I knew these were fly by night, whatever you wanna call them. And I was like, "That nothing." I said, "It's gonna be 3 weeks, and we're gonna charge you full price because 'cause I'm ripping out everything they've done." And they're like, "Well, they've done all this stuff." I'm like, "I don't care because I can tell you, I don't even need anybody that quotes you a week on that, they don't know what they're doing, period. And I'm not gonna go in behind somebody with my reputation on the line to do this." And of course, we did not get the job, and that's fine. And I never did follow up because I was just like, I was in a no-win situation there. But it took them 6 weeks is what I found out. And it was substandard work. Big
Yeah.
surprise,
So these guys, they got the job by telling them what they wanted to hear.
what they wanted to hear.
And
Yep.
so I think that's kind of also part of this story,
It is
but
part of the story.
but when you get these things, you get quotes, you know, boy, if you can find somebody you can trust, maybe that's not the person that's going to do the job, but
Correct.
somebody that you can actually have a conversation with about, the realities of this job,
Yep.
that knows it, use that resource, because as Larry just pointed out, boy, you hire somebody, you think it's, wow, 1 week sounds great. You're in and out, boom. And now you're in there for 6 weeks. But those guys
Yeah.
they got the job, you see,
Oh, and I forgot to add, how much over budget do you think they were?
Exactly. Here's another one. I don't tell me. Tell us.
1.5.
Really?
1.5. So it was the budget plus another 50%. So, big surprise, right? And folks, honestly, and I'm not bagging on other people in the contractor space, we're bad enough, right? We're bad. I mean, me personally, I am very optimistic when it comes particularly to time. Like I always think, oh, it's only going to take this amount of time. I then temper myself, stop and say double that. And even then, half the time I'm short on the time side. Now, we don't charge on stuff like that by the hour. So it doesn't matter to you, the end user, as a customer. But for me, I mean, even I am optimistic on time. Oh, I can get that done in this amount of time. And it's just basically, I'm smoking crack when I say that because I know better anymore.
You're exactly right. I think, if you say, what have you learned in the handyman business?
Everything takes longer than you think is what I've really learned.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, and the money we're pretty good on, we can, like materials and stuff. I can get pretty much, we're pretty close on the money most of the time. Like I never go over. If anything, I'm usually over on products. I always just add a good 20% to what I think it's going to cost, because that ends up for culls and this and that and a few other things. And, and plus we've gotten really good on some of these projects to where we actually know, pretty much down to the penny, and that's fine. But the time thing, still, I never account for the time proper, in my opinion, properly. I just always seem to be.
It's a very difficult thing to do. It's
It is
because there's always something. We always run up against something.
Yeah, there's
no
always
matter what.
Yeah,
now, if you even if you go and you look at some of the other YouTube channels and things like that, where these guys are doing some renovations and things, you're gonna watch them always run into something. Always.
Well, my favorites are the
and
guys
it's like, let's cut the camera and we'll be right back as I straighten out this wall. So
some of my favorites are when you look at the manufacturers and they always do this installation, and it's always in this little 4x4 wall, right? They build
that's inside their warehouse.
It's in their warehouse, yeah. And of course, hey, look how easy it is, and granted, it's easy if you're doing a 4x4 wall inside. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you never found it. They didn't find a freaking honeybee nest behind the damn thing,
or any other of things.
Or half the floor below the tub is about to let loose.
Right.
Stuff like that.
And then there's all of that. Well, anyway, folks, the whole point of this show is really find a trusted professional. B, listen to them, please. Listen to them. If you're particularly the bigger the project, please consult somebody you trust. If you don't, you're just asking for problems. And we've done whole shows on selecting contractors and things like that, but just, gosh, even on some of the small stuff, trust them and believe them. And if you have that relationship, you should be able to trust some people, and then again, on the handyman side, if you're a handyman or somebody's calling you and you don't know the answer, say, I just don't know. I can't talk to that one. That's a trust builder, right? Because we don't know everything. I'm the first one to say I don't know everything. But in a lot of these things, I know more than a lot of people do, than probably most people do. So trust your professionals. Johnny, is there anything else there?
That's it, Larry. I think we covered that one up pretty good.
Yeah, Johnny, we were covering up the spaceship the other day because we were trying to hide it, because, we couldn't get it back together because we did not take a picture of the thing before we started taking it apart.
Well, you know what? It's tough to consult a professional on some of those things.
It is. They don't even speak. I don't even know what they speak. The last time I never. Anyway,
right. With those wild looking black slanty eyes and all that kind of stuff. Who knows? Green. Who knows?
Green.
Yeah.
Hey, what can we say? All right, Johnny. Questions, comments, call it or send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. We're doing the shows weekly, blah, blah, blah. I'm still in Alaska, having a good time. Oh, tired. Got to tell you, tired. Been working like a crazy man. Anyway, Johnny, take us home.
All right, folks. Have a great week. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.